I want you to talk about the clients like me that you have had, not the chronic pain clients, not the diabetics, not the people who have tried everything and come to you in desperation. What makes a professional athlete come to you? What makes a former Navy SEAL come to you? What makes a former Delta operator come to you? What makes a former CIA officer see you and say, well, shit, I'm going to work with you? Not any of these other people that I see everywhere all the time. Because why? What do they see? What did I see that other people seem to miss?
Well, I was hoping it was my good looks, but I'm pretty sure.
That helps. It helps. I'll tell you what, we don't do enough video calls.
But that's great. So what, that's so important. That's the other end of the spectrum, right? The other end of the spectrum in your experience, and I'll just speak to your training because it's relevant to that people group, that there was an intelligent person telling you what to do, and so you did those things, right? But that was over a decade ago, right? Like the intelligent person and their nutrition practice and their understanding of how to do things is for a decade ago great. But what many individuals are operating on crummy science from 50 years ago. And then when you exit the CIA, you look around and you go like, who can help me with my health and fitness? And you got people, whining at you about your calorie intake. And it's like,
that's not them. I know it's not them.
Like, haven't we learned anything?
Yeah.
Like in the last 10 years? So what draws people to me oftentimes on that end of the spectrum is in my Ehlers-Danlos journey, I recognize I'm an outlier. And if I can stay on the cutting edge of exercise and nutrition science, then I can make the most of myself as the industry, not the industry, let's say the underlying substructure in the academia continue to learn. I'll give you an example. So for instance, in my travels through Ehlers-Danlos, one of the things I've learned about myself is there are certain foods that are very helpful to me. I didn't know why, but recently we have the science to actually sequence the human genome and find different variations in how everybody is coded. You have certain genes variants that I don't have. I have certain gene variants you don't have. It's like your fingerprint. Not all of them are the same, right? And we only differ a little, but in the ways we differ, it really matters. So I have a variant in the MTHFR gene, which means that I don't metabolize folate the same way other individuals seem to metabolize folate. Again, it's that 1 to 2% of the population thing. It's not Ehlers-Danlos, but it's a thing, right?
Yeah.
And so when I work with somebody like you, and I can say, hey, for your build, your body type, your
age, your genome,
exactly, here's what we're going to do because this is what we understand nutritionally speaking now. That is very, very sophisticated compared to what we had 10, 20 years ago, right? And so the reason people come to me at that point is I used to have somebody telling me what to do who was intelligent and helped me to make the most of myself.
Yep.
I would like to continue that, but I'm not an operator anymore, right? So I still have operations to execute. It's just not with, an agency telling me how to do these things. So that's what usually brings people to me on that level.
It's funny because that's exactly what I was feeling and looking for when we first met. And I remember on my hunt, I was doing everything I could. I had all of my experience at the agency, all of my experience in the military to help me write my own workouts. I had all of my historic workouts from when I was in my mid to late 30s.
Yep.
But I was not in my mid to late 30s anymore, right? And I had all of my experience, and I had all of my knowledge, and I watched as gyms would transform. I've always worked in world-class gyms, always. In the military, I had top-notch gyms. At the Air Force Academy, I had top-notch gyms in college. I've always been in super sophisticated, cutting-edge gyms. And when you're in a gym that sophisticated, you see things change, right? It's not like your community rec center where the same thing has been there for 35 years.
Right.
You see how things change. You see machines come, you see machines go, you see different techniques come up and down, you see different classes come through, you see different experts give different lectures. So I know how fast science, especially science of the human body, evolves. So when I went to go find my solution, what is going to be my continuation, my continual exercise solution, I was blown away by what was out there. People crawling around like monkeys, talking about natural movements, other people who were talking about like only eating raw foods, only eating fruits. I mean, I saw people who swore that they could somehow like skip sleep and unlock some new chemical in their brain.
Yes.
And even as I see it, I know there's the possibility that all of those things could work. There's the possibility that all of those things could work for some subset of the population somewhere.
Yes.
So there's a possibility that thing could work. But the probability was it wasn't going to work for me.
Most of it, yeah.
If that had a high probability of working, the first time I learned about it would not be on Instagram. If that had a high probability of working, the first time I heard about it would not be on an advertisement in Facebook.
Yep.
That would have been coming from somebody somewhere, a brother or sister who's also a current operator or a recently retired operator. Somebody would have told me this before a sponsored ad. Because the things that really work have always worked and will always work. And it's not a matter of turning a light switch on or off. It's a matter of optimizing, finding an extra 7%, an extra 12%, an extra maybe 20% of improvement that you could get out of it.
Right.
And that is what I was looking for. I knew that I could keep myself fit and trim and healthy at about a 75% on my own, but that's not what I wanted. What I wanted was to optimize it further. And you're totally right. Whenever we crossed paths and I started hearing you talk about my body and my bio-individuality, a term that you taught me, it all started to make sense to me. Because again, when I look back over my time at the agency, that's how they saw me, as a bio-individual when I was inside my exercise scientist's office.
Right.
When I was taking my VO2 max test, when I was taking my body fat test, when I was in the dunk tank, that's what they were looking at. Me as an individual, a biological mass as an individual. That's what I felt like I found when we started working together. There is a huge element of your personal faith that plays into this. And I am Christian, you are Christian. Not everybody listening is Christian, and that's totally fine. One of the things I really appreciate about you is that you find a way to speak openly about your faith without making anyone feel pressure or forced to believe in your faith. How does your faith intersect with your fitness journey and with your personal professional mission?
It's actually something I'm exploring a lot right now, because I would say that in my exercise journey, it's been guided through pain, trying not to be in pain, right? And so for me, learning how to pursue the best version of the body I've been given. So I think about this from a Christian perspective. God made me with all the tweaks and changes and heck, even Ehlers-Danlos.
All the challenges.
And so the question is, how do I make the most of that? And there's the Christian perspective is if Jesus said to his disciples, if any man wants to be my disciple, he will deny himself, pick up his cross, and follow me. And so there's this idea that the challenges that you face are part of the necessary process of becoming who you were made to be. And so for me, the faith aspect comes in where all these things that I'm doing from a health and fitness perspective, keeping a certain amount of muscle so my joints work well, or I ran this morning so that I could be on a sharp as attack for not right now, not what I'm saying, but sharp in our conversation, and so that my body was in a good place and cardiovascular condition, all that stuff. I understand in my faith this body's going to be food for worms someday. So why even do anything with it to begin with? And what I've understood in my journey is that if my physical body becomes an impediment to my spiritual journey, let's say I'm going to go play with my kids because part of my spiritual journey is to be a good father for them and show them the way and enjoy that. It's very meaningful to me. But if I'm too much in pain right now, or I don't have the energy, or there was something that I could have done to put myself in a better position to execute this thing that I get to do in my journey, that makes this whole ride meaningful, right? That I have a responsibility to steward my physical body so that I can do the things that are meaningful to me. And so for me, that's where faith and fitness intersect, is that honestly, all the other fitness goals are vanity, meaning meaningless. That's what the writer of Ecclesiastes would say, vanity, meaningless. all of those fitness goals are vanity if not pointed in the direction of my personal journey and purpose.
Freedom! So fresh on you. Freedom!